Hi, welcome to the Visitation. I'm Mary Beth Eberhard here with my very good friend Lisa Iglesias.
Hey, Mary Beth.
Hey, lady. Good to see you.
You too.
I have so much to share with you today, and I'm glad that we can gather here at St. Gabriel's. Let's see. I have been pondering this concept of staying in my lane. This is deep, so stay with me.
Okay.
All right. You know how you have the Olympic pools? And
I was going to say rumble strips. Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, we can go with the driving.
Olympic pools. Go ahead. Those plastic things that you bang your arm on because you don't.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're always going for the caution here. I was like, look, I just want to swim a straight path.
Yes.
And you're like, no, you're automatically hitting.
That's me, girl. That's me.
I've been pondering this in relation to specifically my vocation as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, all the different, roles I have. I've been thinking about the way that I try to wrap everybody up into, my goals. Imagine me like trying to in the lane, right? The swimming. This is why I went with the swimming. Because in my car, I can put them all back there, strap them in. But swimming, like I've got all these kids wrapped, clinging to me. And I'm like, no, we are going this way.
Yeah.
And it never goes well.
I was going to say, I'd probably be sinking at that point.
Yeah. I mean, and so we begin to drop. So I found this quote that I wanted to share with you. Actually, I did share it with you. If do you have it on your text? Okay, good. Just so we both have the same thing. But St. Francis de Sales, in his Introduction to the Devout Life, which is an incredible book. Have you ever done that whole Ignatian retreat? I haven't.
I have not yet. Mm-mm.
Yeah, me either. It's a goal.
I'm always worried that they're going to expel me for talking. So yeah.
Is it a sign?
I don't. You see, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know that we would do well.
Let us know, friends. Does it have to be silent? I was at a retreat once. I was in my 20s and I had my books from college and everything. And we were going to have a silent lunch. And I thought I was going to be expelled because the minute I looked up at my friends, I started to giggle. So I had to eat my entire lunch looking at my plate, laughing silently and getting scowled at.
So I don't think that's what St. Francis de Sales had in mind.
Sorry about that. Let's go. St. Francis de Sales.
Okay. So
what was it called? The
introduction to the Devout Life.
Okay.
And in specific for staying in my lane,
yes,
he has a section in the book where he talks about devotion to your family. He says, moreover, just as every sort of gem cast in honey becomes brighter and more sparkling, each according to its color, so each person becomes more acceptable and fitting in his own vocation when he sets his vocation in the context of devotion. Mm-hmm. Through devotion, your family cares become more peaceful. Mutual love between husband and wife becomes more sincere. The service we owe to the Prince becomes more faithful, and our work, no matter what it is, becomes more pleasant and agreeable. Mm. He then goes on, just stay with me for just 1 second. Mm-hmm. He says, I acknowledge that the type of devotion which is purely contemplative, monastic, and religious can certainly not be exercised in these sorts of stations and occupations. But besides this threefold type of devotion, there are many others fit for perfecting those who live in a secular state. So whatever situation we happen to be, we can and must aspire to the life of perfection. Mm. And okay, so I really wanted to share this with you.
As in, a monastic Capuchin has devotions that Lisa in her kitchen with a whole bunch of finger painting and needing to get food on the table and be at church for the Bible study cannot do.
Right.
Just as he cannot do the devotions that I do.
Right.
Right. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm saying, this concept of, where I came as I was journaling, I was like, so basically I need to stay in my lane of devotion.
Yeah.
Right. And devotion and vocation. So, if and this has happened to me so many times in life where like we'll go visit the sisters. We particularly love the servidores, the missionaries of the Incarnate Word there. And we will go, and I mean, they have a sweet setup. They have divisions of labor. Like there are those who do hospitality and those who do cleanup and meals, and they have someone who does all of the secretarial skills for the order for that week, and like and everybody is on rotation, right? And I remember one trip we came back and I was like, on the way home from DC, I like made the chart, like, here we go. We are going to do this. So I was like, and I took like a little wooden box and I put the cereals and the oatmeal stuff out. And I was like, so you child, you're in charge of bringing out the breakfast and then, and everyone it flopped majorly, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not within our calling. Life does not work that way.
But you were aspiring to something because you found that it gave order and peace and holiness.
Right. There was beauty in it. Yes. But the reality was I went into someone else's lane completely. I swam under the guard.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
But it struck me that one, there's beauty in other people's vocations, specifically within our church. I mean, come on, there are, we literally have holy men and women who are devoting, like praying for us right now.
Yeah.
They've isolated like themselves just for this purpose, that are literally praying right now for
the
us,
church. Yeah.
Right. Not my vocation. As you said, like, I almost chuckle thinking about what that would look like for you, because it's a beautiful, like, yes, Lord, I want to give that, but that is not who you created me to be in this moment. But I think we need to really examine our own lane. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course. I do. I
mean, I know.
I think we don't take the chance to think about it, though. I think that life, that alarm goes off in the morning and we're like, hit the road, we hit the ground running, even if it is for our, even if we built in time for prayer in the morning, get up because I got to go and do my prayer time, like the things that, God has got for me on my plate today, or I've put on my plate today. They start and they got to get rolling. I think staying in our lane is, I think it's a journey. I think it's gonna be something that we learn, like you were mentioning, trying to adopt a devotion that maybe wasn't suited for family life, or maybe even little children family life, or maybe it's suited for something further along the way. But I think also in that reading there of the introduction of the devout life, I found it interesting that like he even touches on like, well, a bishop is concerned about like the care of so many thousands of people. Like, I mean, we're talking like their daily bread, like, and financially or even spiritually. Yet a parish priest, or a father in a home is concerned about similar things, but under a different kind of a set, not thousands, but the six of us or something in that nature.
I found that. Can I read it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm seriously like, I just loved,
it's put so succinctly. Yeah,
it is. It says, tell me whether it is proper for a bishop to want to lead a solitary life like a Carthusian, or for married people to be no more concerned than a Capuchin about increasing their income, or for a working man to spend his whole day in church like a religious, or on the other hand, for a religious to be constantly exposed like a bishop to all the events and circumstances that bear on the needs of our neighbor. Is not this sort of devotion ridiculous, unorganized, and intolerable? Yet this absurd error occurs very frequently, but it doesn't inspire true devotion, right?
Yeah. My son called the other day and we were chatting about, he had a very long, he's the music director at a very, very large parish in Miami, Florida. And he called and he said, in a really exhausted moment of his Sunday, he called and he said, I was just reflecting, and came to mind was, one of our family movies is Fiddler on the Roof. And so we always, would spend time watching that a couple times a year together when they were all small. And he said, and he sings that if I were a rich man, and he talks about I would sit on the eastern wall 7 hours every day, and I would read of the holy books, and he would, he goes, I do that. I get to do that. Sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm wistfully singing that song, like, oh, I wish, Lord, I wish. He's like, God gives me that. It doesn't mean it's restful. It means it's exhausting. And it's, for his extroverted introvert self, it's everything. It's his whole life. He pours out every mass. Well, but he recognized that, I can't sit and then just go back to my monastery, but how beautiful that he would offer something in the realm of it,
You're listening to The Visitation here on St. Gabriel Catholic Radio. I'm Mary Beth Eberhard here with Lisa Iglesias, and we are talking about staying in our lane within the concept of devotion and vocation. And Lisa, I think what you shared is really beautiful. Again, I want to ask you about like bringing it to the practical, because the reality is within our stages of vocations, we might, so for instance, you have your last of your 4 is a senior this year, right? In high school. And so I imagine, again, I'm not there yet, but that you and Deacon Doug will have more time for a devout prayer life.
I hope so.
Right. But in the throes of younger you and 4 kids at home and all of the things, how did you incorporate devotion without, and I shouldn't say without because we've all done it, but looking to the other lanes?
A lot of stumble tripping, through that. I had friends who had certain devotions. So a lot of devotions I didn't grow up with, so I knew about the rosary, but didn't grow up praying it with a family necessarily. I knew about just different devotions. And then, getting to meet friends who had full houses full of kids and things, and even going to your house, seeing rosaries hanging on the wall. I was like, oh, what? You can do that in your house? I didn't know you could do that. Is that welcoming to everyone to have rosaries on the wall? I come to find out that when else are they going to see a rosary maybe? If you invite your friends over. But to go back to the little devotions, I had friends who had made little cards and laminated them, and they had stations on them, or similar with the rosary. And they gifted us a couple. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is simple. They can hold on to it. They can flip through them. I don't have to break my head about trying to figure out how to teach my kids about this. And I'm not giving them this rich Catholic, upbringing, but, my friend just gave me some flashcards and we can bring this in. We can talk about it. So really through friends, sharing with me their simple devotions. Most of them were teachers, so that was good. I'm not a teacher by trade, so or by education, so I didn't get it can be simpler, Lisa, and we can bring in these devotions with the little kids.
I think of when my kids were younger, there were some things we did well, emphasis on some, but they were good, so we had, how within our diocese, we have the seminarian prayer cards.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, this is so silly, but it was fun. We would play Go Fish with the seminarian cards. We'd lay them on the ground. We'd play memory. I'd get 2 sets, and and just be so that they became familiar to us, and we could pray for them. And so I thought that was something that was particular to my family, because the ministry of really praying for and welcoming the seminarians is dear to us. And so that was one way that we could do that, right? Looking forward, if I jump now to the fact that I have, middle school and high school kids, I think, what does that look like within our family? And you almost have to put your blinders on in some ways, right?
I think it's true. Yeah.
Especially, I don't know if it's the case, but when you're older, you begin to doubt yourself even for me even more like, oh, am I getting too lax? Am I, because they push harder, right? And so, like, oh, we need to pray a rosary now.
Yeah.
And they, in the reality, like, so first I will be very honest. I'm like, oh, she hates the rosary. Like then I go upstairs and she's got her, card, and she's praying it on her own. And like, um, so one, I have to be careful not to judge my kids, right? Why do I go to the negative? Why? Like when I yell upstairs, everything okay? And I automatically assume like, they're on technology and it's awful. And, instead like they're up there, painting a picture or something, which is a holy thing. But
I think it falls under that thing of keeping them alive and safe. We still have that going on since they put that baby in our arms, and we just, our spidey senses start tingling, and we gotta.
the spidey sense is real.
Sure is quiet up there. Everything okay?
But now, listening is really important. Having watchful eyes to where they are spiritually, I think, has led us to being a bit more spontaneous, and also speaking our needs. So here are examples. I had the kids in the car, and I was a little stressful because I was like, I'm not going to get time to pray. I'm just like, we're going from dance to taekwondo to taking so-and-so to work to this to that. And I'm like, just like, when am I going to pray? Like, when am I going to have time? And one of them was like, well, Mom, why don't we just pray right now? And it was really beautiful, right? And like, one, that child took control. Two, like, she spoke, like, in her speaking that way, like, everybody was like, okay, we're gonna give this to Mom. And so she was like, hey, so can you pause them? Like, guys, we can do this, right? Or another one wanted to go to the Stations of the Cross. We typically in our house, just since the kids were little, and I did not honestly want to drag everybody, and it felt like dragging to Stations of the Cross. Sometimes for me, my family could be a bit on show. Like,
I understand.
We've got the 8 kids too in wheelchairs, and there was a lot, and often
we're
like
talking Friday night. Are you kidding me?
Friday night, and they had, sometimes they had like casts and things, and it was just it, and for them and for us. So we did stations at home. We had a board made. I bought a bunch of little candles, and we would read the stations in light, and we would sing the Stabat Mater in between. So it became comfortable. Well, flash forward just a couple weeks ago, one of them was like, hey, can we just go do stations? And it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, to watch them engage was just like, I was like, okay, so this is how we're going to encounter you right now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like, I don't want to give examples, because then that like, it doesn't look like that person who's doing this or that, because that takes away, because where they are is in their lane, and it is beautiful, right? But I think sometimes we look and we think, I'm not enough. I'm not Catholic enough, faithful enough, doing a good enough job, living this out fully. Because look, like, I enter into church and I see these people on their knees, and my kids are like, arguing about where we're going to sit. Yeah. And one of them actually just wants to sit in the back all by himself. Yeah. And I just think that's like, challenging.
I was thinking that the, a huge stumbling block is the stuff that we're looking at or taking in. So, social media shows us somebody's best day, and actually it's not even that. We have to be aware that people rent houses to do social media. That's part of their business plan, is that they don't even do it in their house. So most of the time, when you watch somebody doing this like extraordinary moment with their kids, whatever, in the kitchen, it's actually not even in their house. So let's just be honest about that. And if we go from there, there's a lot of spiritual, helps out there. And I mean, it's just I'm just being brutally honest, that we can look at some of these things and go, oh my gosh, I just can't do that. My kids don't sit so still. My kids don't, in that particular video, those kids were there for 10 minutes, and then the babysitter took them home. They didn't have to deal with so much. And here we are trying to make our little life look like their, particularly curated and choreographed 8-minute video we just saw about living a holy life and real spiritual life. And so I just want us to guard our hearts on those things if we're taking in a lot of social media there.
Here's a question, though.
Mm.
I've been reading this book, Practice of the Presence of Christ. It's by Brother Lawrence. It's actually, I think I gave it to you for Christmas.
Yeah, I think
it's okay that you haven't opened it because I'm a big,
I have, and I had seen it before along my life.
Yeah. But in it, he talks about how the lanes of both the religious and family merge together a bit, or how there are similarities. And I'm wondering, or actually it's striking me that maybe I was drawn to or I am still, the life of these religious sisters because they are authentically themselves, right? And what is the crossover within there? What can I bring? Like it's not wrong to want to bring some of that into my family. Does that make sense?
No, of course not. No, I think it makes total sense. I mean, you're seeing something that's true, good, and beautiful. You're seeing the joy shine in their face. You're seeing the peace there.
But just as they go about their lives. So, for instance, here's another example of it. When we went to pick up Elizabeth in Armenia, we adopted our daughter when she was 10, and she was raised by the Missionaries of Charity. And they pray the rosary all day long, they're doing dishes and they're praying the rosary. And, they pray without ceasing. Theirs is out loud. Ours it looks different, but there are similarities. Do you know? And there, perhaps our lanes merge a bit.
I mean, I think when we try to pick up they do merge, and I think as we want to incorporate a new devotion or something that's just been on your heart, or to do, like maybe it's going to adoration, or maybe it's going to or praying the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and to start with prayer. Ask God, like, Father, I'm feeling drawn to this. Is this the time for this in our family?
Oh, I love that.
Do you want this? Am I doing it because I feel less? Am I looking at that going, oh, because they're doing such a good job being parents that maybe, we probably should do this, and we really stink because we don't do it. And is it coming from that place that I want to do this, or to look more holy, or like, or is this something you're showing me? Is this something new? Is this something going to bless us? I mean, adoration, going to adoration, is something near and dear to my husband and my heart. And so we brought our kids to adoration. Didn't start until our olders were, maybe middle school, that we would take them. But our little ones grew up going and going. And the other day, my husband and I were out of town, and our 18-year-old was home. And he mentioned, he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to pick up those things from the grocery, but after I'm going to go to adoration and then to formation with the youth group, and I'll get that. And I just like froze. I'm like, he's going to adoration by himself. Like we always took him, and there was no choice. Like he had to get in the car. He was the youngest, and but he sat with me in adoration when I've wept. He's just kind of scooted closer and leaned his shoulder against mine. He sat there with me when we were just like rejoicing, praising God. And then in the stillness or just reading scripture, and he would pass me his Bible to read something in the Old Testament I've never heard of. Like, whoa, like God wanted that devotion. Like you can see the fruits,
What I'm thinking is, as you reminded me of how your family used to really welcome everybody into the Adoration Chapel. And we had, times of prayer and praise, and how beautiful that was. I think of, in the similar way, how my family has, a mission of hospitality and welcoming, and staying in our lanes, if you will, in the devotion, like where we are called to be, in that time. Like you invited my family into, adoration in a beautiful way of whole family, right?
Whole family, yeah.
And in a similar way, I would like to think that my family shared with you
right.
the
Well,
you
we
know,
were the stranger. We were the stranger. We had no
Oh.
place to go. And you invited us into not just your home and friendship family, but like by being invited in there, then we were actually invited into the parish. Like it was unique and powerful. And like we suddenly felt like we're part of this parish family now.
Thank you.
It's almost
Sorry,
like
oh.
it's interesting. I've never actually thought of the two different devotions, and where I feel like I have this shortcoming with. Well, I feel like God is like telling me I'm okay. I can start now. As far as like the hospitality side of my life, and welcoming to my home. But I feel like maybe we were like the field hospital, like the emergency room, like, oh, please come to adoration. We're praying, this is like, we're asking the Holy Spirit for healing and, care. And then you were like the step down unit, and you were like okay, now that you have entered in, oh, come and be cared for. Come and be fed.
Your devotion. That's just the thing. Like, it's so necessary. You brought your devotion, just as the sisters bring theirs, and the brothers bring theirs, and the priests bring theirs, and each family has their own.
Yeah.
And I loved what you said. I'm going to write it down, which is like to ask the Lord within this time, this station of life, what is it? Where are you calling me?
Yeah.
And I was marveling because where we are in life, it is like hospitality just is like it flows like the milk in my fridge easily. But adoration's a little bit more of a struggle for us. But Lord, are you calling us there? Like you called us to stations, Lord. Are you calling us there? Like where are you? And just to have that time,
because that's where we want to go.
Yeah,
we just want to go where He's calling.
That's where I'm gonna thrive. And so I think when we stay in our lane and we ask the Lord to guide our path, to the finish line, that's where the goodness is. Man, thanks, lady.
Yeah, thanks for being with us on the Visitation.
We'll see you next time.